Hi there. I have been posting quite actively on social media the last couple of days, and I have brought forward concepts, downloads. Some of these are concepts that have come straight into my mind, downloads from the Nine, questions I've asked the Nine, or responses from the Nine and from myself to questions other people are asking me. Also, I'm in the middle of doing some other work, so I've taken some snippets, some sections of that work, and also looked at those concepts. So I've been creating quite a few social media statuses, and I would like to go through them and just talk about them further. So the one I'd like to talk about today, the status is: there is never just one reason why something occurs on the physical plane. The final blueprint is a quantum convergence that remains fluid, meaning you can change it from your physical incarnation once you are spiritually activated into true memory. That's it. That's the status. This came about because I've seen debates on social media, and I've replied and sort of got drawn into the odd debate on social media, and people will tell you why something has happened. They will say the reason for this is because of this, and I'm talking about a spiritual or metaphysical concept. I'm not talking about the reason why pasta boils is because it's in a saucepan full of hot water. I'm not talking about something on a physical level. I'm talking about metaphysical, spiritual, higher dimensional philosophies and concepts. The reason why this happens is because of this. So somebody might say the reason why that's happening is because of karma, or because of a past life contract, or because of whatever. But they will apply one reason to that problem, or that issue, or that event. They will apply one reason to it. Now, the majority of the time when I'm actually looking at these debates or being involved with them, which I'm trying not to do, one of the things I've noticed is most of the time the reason is accurate. So if they say the reason why this happens is because of this, it's true, it's accurate. But the problem is, it's not the only reason. There are other reasons, and some of those reasons are in complete opposition and are a total inconsistency to that first reason. There are several reasons for why something happens, and most of the people I'm seeing within these social media debates have discovered one reason, and they may have picked that up through either research or reading, or they may have picked this up themselves from guidance, from visitations, from dream work, from meditation, memory activation, and they're correct. But what they're not seeing are the deeper layers. There are more layers. So, it's all very well to say, for example, you could actually say the reason why this is occurring on our planet right now is because of a cabal agenda, an Illuminati agenda. It's a dark agenda, a dark plan. And that's correct. That, I'm looking at this thing, well, yeah, that's right. But at the same time, there's also a light agenda. So we got, this devilish, satanic, Luciferian agenda, and we've got this light agenda too, from the angelic realm, from the higher dimensions, from the ascension timeline. And that's also got its part in this event that's occurring. But people are only seeing the one bit, the dark agenda. So they then will say that everything involved with this one particular issue is all part of it's all an Illuminati plan. And so because of that, they will dismiss that part of reality. They will reject that part of reality. They will be angry with it. They will be horrified by it, whatever that may be. And those feelings that they have are justified given the perspective they have about that particular issue. But there are other reasons for things. And this is why I've spoken so much about discernment, coming into alignment, staying in balance, because you can't see these other levels unless you do this. And as I've said once before, I think it was Albert Einstein that said you cannot solve a problem from the level of the problem. You need to go above the problem, something like that, words to those effect. You can't actually look at something that's a third dimensional issue, and even though it's a spiritual concept, put a third dimensional spin on the reason for that third dimensional issue, because all you're doing when you do that is coming into polarity with it, and then you are standing in a place of battlefield. You're in resistance and you are drawing that issue towards you even more. So what you're rejecting, so I want nothing to do with that, that's dark, that's part of a satanic Illuminati agenda, I want nothing to do with it, it's awful. You are bringing it into your life all the time as long as you're staying in resistance to it. What would assist you, apart from discernment, what would assist you is to understand the entire reason why this is occurring on this level, in this reality. And that's why I wrote this status. There is never just one reason why something occurs on the physical plane. There's never just one reason. You can't just say the reason why this is happening is because of this. That's a third dimensional, linear, polarity interpretation. And that's third dimensional. Even if you yourself are on a spiritual path, you are still taking spiritual concepts and you are applying them to your reality in a third dimensional sense. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's part of your journey. There's nothing wrong with the third dimension. It's the dimension we live in. It's a wonderful dimension. It's the anchor for all the dimensions. It's where we experience the free will, and where we experience the separation that teaches us about unity, the free will that teaches us about non-free will and alignment with the blueprint and all of those things. So there's nothing wrong with the way that you are perceiving, and there's nothing wrong with the conclusion you've come to, because it's correct, but it's only part of the picture, because it will be linear, it will be reduced. It's a reduced, limited viewpoint, and when you take it into your reality that it's the only viewpoint, it perpetuates your third dimensional existence. What that means is it perpetuates the carbon-based molecular structure within your body. That's what you are perpetuating when you are thinking this way. And the only way to create activation and begin the movement, the alchemy from the carbon-based molecular structure into the crystalline-based molecular structure and the light body and the Merkaba and ascension, which is the path that you are on. If you are looking at spiritual concepts in the first place, the only way to do this is to move out of the non-linear. You still remain in linear, but you move into non-linear experience at the same time. So you look at multidimensional reasons and multidimensional concepts. You would look at all the layers. There are many people that are able to do this. And when you look at these people that are able to see these layers, they come across as much more accepting, much more chilled out. They're not angry and furious. I'm not saying they don't get angry and furious. Of course they do. But what I mean is the majority presentation most of the time as to who they are is a chilled out person who is going with the flow and allowing them to experience these higher emotions of bliss, happiness, joy, euphoria, ecstasy. They're moving into these emotions and feeling them despite all this chaotic activity that's occurring around us on this world. That doesn't mean that they're ignoring those things or that they don't care. It means that they are in a state of alchemization and that they are moving from a carbon-based molecular structure being into a crystalline-based molecular structure being. So there is never just one reason why something occurs on the physical plane. The final blueprint So the final blueprint, which is the blueprint for that event or that action, that that physical structure. So it could be an idea, it could be a business, it could be a relationship, it could be a building, it could be a clothing line, it could be, you know, a recipe, it could be food, it could be the birth of a child, it could be an animal. But all of these things that exist within 3D, they all have blueprints within the higher dimensional field. They are the response to a blueprint. So the final blueprint, which is the falling down into the setting of the blueprint, the final blueprint is a quantum convergence. So it isn't just one thing. It's a quantum convergence. And if you look at them clairvoyantly, they look like little whirlpools, and they're fractal, they're holographic, they're infinite in their structure. So to actually decode them fully is, I won't say it's impossible, but the only aspect of these little vortices, if you like, that you would need to decode are the ones that are directly connected to you and your experience. You don't need to know the entire map of that vortex. The final blueprint is a quantum convergence that remains fluid. So that's why it is challenging to decode it, because even if you could decode all of it in its infinite nature, it will have changed structure by the time you finish decoding it. It's fluid and moving. Why? Because it's alive. It's a living structure. The blueprints, the higher dimensional blueprints, are living structures, and they are the vortices that set in a geometric alignment that then come into manifestation, meaning you can change it from your physical incarnation once you are spiritually activated into true memory. So from your physical incarnation, because this final blueprint is a quantum convergence that remains fluid, from your physical incarnation, once you're spiritually activated, you can change it. You can make changes to that vortex. That's what it means by creating your own reality. This is basically another way of saying the law of attraction, or the law of magnetic attraction. But it's a geometric presentation of the law of attraction. It's explaining how this works in a more in a deeper way, I guess, in a more fractalized way, in a more geometric way, in a more mathematical way. It's just going a bit further. So the law of attraction is very much think about something, feel something, and it will manifest into your life. It's not that it's untrue, but that is very much a fourth dimensional interpretation of how it works. I'm kind of coming from a sixth dimensional perspective here to explain how you can see why something happens. What's the reason? What is the reason for that happening? I'll give you an example. So, say somebody has just lost their a very good friend. Say a very good friend of theirs has transitioned and passed over, and that very good friend was only, say, in their mid-30s when they died. What's the reason? Well, a spiritual teacher or somebody who's spiritually aware might say, well, they were needed in the spiritual realms because they had another job to do, so they had to leave here. And that may well be true. But there may be another viewpoint, which is, well, actually, they were needed here. And what happened to them happened too quickly. They were supposed to live till they were 85, and they passed away when they were 35. So they cut their life short. That may also be true. And then there might be another reason and another reason. And there are layers on layers on layers on layers. And that's why it's a fractalized vortex, or a series of vortices that are these fluid blueprints. They're the reasons. So you don't really decode them necessarily. What you do is you just kind of merge yourself with them and connect with them and find out the reasons that are most relevant to your experience or what you need, to the life path that you're on. because it's pretty much impossible to decode that infinite structure in its entirety. And even if you could, it would have changed by the time you had decoded it, because remember, we're in the third dimension and we experience linear time, and this is a non-linear structure. So you can change it from your physical incarnation. You can actually connect with these blueprints, with these vortices. They are living entities. You can connect with them and communicate with them and work with them to change the structure. And that is what it means to be a wizard, a magician, an alchemist. And all star seeds have the ability, the programming and the blueprints to be those things, especially the alchemist. All star seeds are alchemists because they are in the process of working with master alchemy. They are all turning lead into gold because they are moving from a carbon-based molecular structure into a crystalline silicate matrix or lattice or blueprint. They're moving from carbon to crystalline. That's what they're doing. So when they know that they're doing this, when they stand as the alchemist, they can work with alchemy on all levels, because these vortices are all part of the DNA structure, especially if they're blueprints that are connected to your reality. And anything that you see or observe is connected to your reality simply by the nature of your observation of it. So once you are spiritually activated into true memory, and what that means is you are working with the crystalline structure, you are moving out of the third dimension and linear reality while still anchoring it, but you are embracing the higher dimensional structures and the non-linear reality. That is the crystalline blueprint. That is also true memory, because when you work with the crystalline awakening, the ascension, that's all about memory. You're bringing memory back. And so you're able to change these vortices. The status was made because I wanted to show that when you say the reason that has happened is because of this, you may well be true, but all you are seeing is a linear pattern, and you are interpreting in a third dimensional sense. And as I've said, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you continue to think that way, if you continue to translate your spiritual knowledge in a third dimensional sense, you are just recycling a carbon-based molecular structure for your body. If you want to go through ascension, one has to think fractally, multidimensionally, in a multifaceted way. It's not a one-tracked thought anymore. Not with this new energy and in this new earth and in this new body. It isn't a one-tracked thought. You'll move into a double-tracked thought. The nine call this bilocational consciousness. You'll move into a trinity tracked thought, which the nine call trilocational consciousness, and you'll move into a multi-tracked thought, which is multilocational consciousness. And eventually, and you can do this now, once you move into that crystalline activation, you move into a unified thought, which is omnipresence. And that is the omnipresent and omnipotent aspect, the divinity that one looks to attain when they're moving into enlightenment or self-realization. That's the path, and we're doing this together. So one of the key issues here is when you are looking at the reason as to why something has happened, whilst you may get the answer to that, and if it's coming from your guides, question them. Say, okay, so that's a reason, thank you. Are there any other reasons? If you can't see, some people can see the pattern, so they see it before them. That's what I do, and they're able to decode. And sometimes you see a pattern and think, what is that? What is that? And you don't know, and you have to allow yourself to work with it. That's the language of light. That's the decoding of the language of light. That's what you're doing when you are looking at these patterns. This is frequency. It's the language of light. It's a light language, and you're decoding it in your own unique way. So that was one of the statuses I posted on social media, and I wanted to talk about it with you. So thank you very much for listening, and I will see you again. Bye. In this transmission from the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of Nine, I, Magenta Pixie, bring forward information specific to utilising the rose gold flame as antidote to 5G, EMFs, chemicals, chemtrails, and similar. The presented template utilises the Schumann resonance, and the technique is alchemical unification. In this book, the Nine discuss synchronicity, discernment skills, and understanding of discordance and disharmony within truth and lightworker communities. They present a workable model of expression, assisting the spiritual explorer in creating a necessary toolkit. This allows the individual to construct a shield, bringing safety, harmony, expansion, and cohesive sovereignty into their own personal reality and their matrix field. I am pleased to present my new short book, The Black Box Program and the Rose Gold Flame as Antidote.